There's also a very beautiful thing, your grand trine in water. And so what is this, right? So the grand trine in water, but it's also what it looks like. It's an enclosed system. So it's, will I do it? Will I bring what I know is in me into the outer realm? So what we want to see, which we do, is enough kind of pressure and stress, kind of cracking into the grand trine, both natally and by transit, to compel one to do what's easy. And see, this Jupiter curiosity stories rising in the 12th house, last house above the horizon, representing culture's unconscious, what culture has undervalued, but what is really important, right? Uranus transits are always surprising, but make complete sense. So we don't know. It's very in this swoosh, part 1, part 2, part 3, just leaving room for like change my mind, or who would have thought, or because remember, it's deconditioning, and then just for the fun of it, because it says maybe you certainly don't need to, but Jupiter to Neptune, it's like born with a magic backpack full of guiding stories. Remember that cultures symbolically embedded their science in their fairy tales and myths, right? It's because the stories get repeated, and people need stories more than they need bread. And see, Pluto is going, let's go deeply into this. Jupiter, Neptune, you have a magic backpack intrinsically, so that some reading that you do is like memory, going, yeah, right, yes, I know that. It's the positive alliance of story and metaphor, of course. And then let's bring Chiron into play. Chiron's the first mentor. And also, Chiron himself did not define himself as the wounded healer. That's a kind of modern faux myth. So Chiron's the first mentor. He's a centaur. He's a centaur mentor. He lives in a cave, very 8th house, and he is the most knowledgeable of all beings. So he is the kind of perfect permeable membrane of wild nature and human culture. So again, it's part of your beat, that bridge, right? So he does start. He's a mentor. He starts a school for future cultural heroes. He teaches Asclepius how to be the Greek god of healing. He teaches Orpheus how to play the lute. So in antiquity, music and healing, one thing. So Chiron goes on a journey and founds the Asclepions, ancient cultural centers of intentional dreaming, healing, and theater. And, people really went there at a time like, it could be as big as a pandemic and a social crisis and tyranny and everything, personal or collective. And they would drink rhodiola root tea, right? The roots, the mushrooms, the ginger root, the turmeric root. They would drink rhodiola root tea, which is just a lovely adaptogen. Then they would intend to have a healing dream, and they'd have one, right? And then the wheel and deal was they would only have the power of their dream, of their vision, once they'd given it creative expression. Poem or plant a tree or some outward expression of an inward vision, right? And once they'd done that, they would have the power of their dream and go back to their communities as Renaissance people. So that all really happened, right? So Chiron's hopping up and down, and it goes, oh look, Neptune's right here, and and Jupiter is exactly sextile. Jupiter is at 26 Capricorn, exactly sextile your Chiron, and opposite itself. So Chiron goes, I'm hopping up and down. Do we have some backup? Do we have a Neptunian dreaming thing? And we go, yes, it's part of the grand trine. Here's Neptune, and here's Neptune coming up behind you. And Chiron goes, cool, all right. Do we have a creative expressive thing? And we go, Leo rising. We go, yeah, all right. And do we have a, whatever. Anyway, Chiron says, we got everything. We've got intentional dreaming, ancient practices of intentional dreaming, healing, and theater. Oh, so Chiron goes, all right, we got everything. Let's give Kim some more magic keys. Let's give her an all-access backstage pass to the ancient Asclepion. These unfolding skills and dreaming, adding to your magic backpack. So that's wonderful. And Neptune chiming in here says, so many ways of knowing things. Wondering elicits intuitive insight. So it's very call and response. Yes, Leo rising, and your North Node is in 10th house, and Uranus there. Your work is liberating. There are many onstage and backstage parts of you, and then See, if we go backwards, kind of in the archaeology, there's some backstage preparation, perhaps. The moon, getting a lot of attention, would say, Kim belongs to a really old tradition, okay, going way back. And these women were artful, pragmatic mystics, and they could go backstage. And also, you know, there's a great book called The Death and Resurrection Show by smart British guy Rogan Taylor. So he decides to do the history of storytelling and gathering and magic as far back as we can go. So we know that people gathered here for over 5,000 years. They would play music. Here's the fire pit, here's the paintings, and they would shadow dance between the fire pit with the paintings. It's like the purpose of Leo-ness was not performance, it was magic, or performance in service to magic. And the purpose of art, here's your beautiful Venus, didn't even need to be seen, right? It was like a lot of the paintings were powerful and amazing, but their potency was not even in being seen. The purpose of art, dedicated acts of beauty, invite power into the world and animate this particular template, this thing here. And so in that tradition, the moon would say, all right, these women, they really knew how to do this. And they had positions of Saturn, positions of, it says they might have been partnered, but they were extremely independent, and the moon is opposite Chiron. So it says, you know, and they also were women who kind of ran the Asclepion-like things, places of intentional dreaming, healing, many ways to cooperate with the world.